Peace, family. Welcome to another episode Underground Railroad. You know, this your host, Rich. We out here in these Harlem streets, man. Just met up with Red and Blue. Man, it feel good tonight. It's a nice night out here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The nights are actually more calm in New York than the daytime.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Ain't that something, man? The night, but that night energy is something, though, man. But you know that's gonna lead into what we talking about with that, you know, that moon energy and that, you know, that mythology and you know all that metaphysical talk. We gonna talk about some good stuff today. I want to talk about Stan Lee actually. Oh, you know what? Before I talk about Stan Lee, of course, I need everybody on December 16th to come out to the God Frequency Conference.
Humble Ballroom.
I need us all. Yeah. The last hold they got on us at this point right now, my brothers, is our minds. They done tried everything. All they want is our attention. They want our minds. They want our attentions. They want our minds. The brothers is coming with information that's going to free you. I want us to look at ourselves instead of as personalities, blue and red, but as, even with the documentary, as antennas of God consciousness, where we broadcast God signals. We think we're the ego, so we try to broadcast the ego consciousness, and it's so limited. It's such a failure. It's so petty. It's so pitiful. It's so futile. It's so minimal. But if we look at ourselves as like a radio, imagine walking around with a radio and you just turn to a station. We got to turn to that God station, my brothers. So if we look at ourselves like a radio, if we look at ourselves like a, you know, like an antenna, all we gonna do all day, like Esther Hicks said, the law of allowance. She used to always talk about that. Allowing it, she used to say allowing is more important than trying to manifest. And that's something our ego can't. Yeah, receptivity.
Being able to receive.
Yeah.
That's very important.
And what our ego thinks is that I ain't got time for that shit. I gotta try to manifest. Let me try to think some good thoughts. And you try to think good, and you forcing it, and there's a, you know, you trying to think about money, but you really feel poor. You ever seen a nigga try to think about $1 million, but he feel poor inside?
Fact.
He's gonna manifest that feeling and not his thought, because the feeling's gonna override that thought.
Fact.
So listen, man, this shit is deep. This shit is deeper than what they say. This conference, this documentary, December 16th, you're gonna want to be there. Dr. Phil Valentine, Brother Panic, the rapper B.O.B., A.A. Rashid. When's the last time we see A.A. Rashid and Phil Valentine together? I mean, come on, it's been like 2006.
Looking at a decade.
Yeah, so they're gonna be on stage together, A.A. and Phil. Like you're not gonna see it. Yeah. B.O.B. Panic on stage together. Like this is like something unique going on.
Dr. Aleem, I was listening just to a smidget
you
of
heard that
upload that you put on and expanding my consciousness.
Bro.
My brother was talking about the 7 planes. He's gonna be in the building with his whiz. Dr. Nalani's gonna be in the building. Sister Khadija,
yeah.
Panic. So there's a balance.
There's a balance. Yeah, feminine, masculine.
Consciousness. We're talking subconsciousness. We're talking at 5%. We're talking at 95% to bring about that super consciousness. So yes, indeed, this is important. The family needs it. There's always an annual tune-up going into the ending of this particular calendar year, so you can start things anew and set your intentions. You feel me? And what better way to do it but to tune your frequency? So tell them exactly, you know, how they go about getting that.
December 16th, the flyer. Well, I'll put the flyer on the screen while y'all talk. Since you brought it up, I was going to save it till because everybody's coming out with the titles of their lectures this week. One thing I want everybody to understand, and I might make this our own segment or something, but one thing I want everybody to understand, and Aleem's subject, you brought it up, Aleem, so I'm going to say it, is that when we talk about God is a verb. It's not a noun. It's not a personality. God wants us to use the fuck out of him or her or whatever it is. God wants us to use the fuck out of it. It wants to express itself and then wear it out in this reality. Until you. God said, "Nigga, use me." That's God needs to experience this.
That's right.
It's not waiting to punish us. All God is doing is responding to our vibrational signal, our antenna signal. Nobody's punished. Nobody's being punished, family. Karma, there's no karma. it's responding to your vibrational signal.
No
It's
limit,
it's a judgment bureau.
This is
It's
what the
responding to your
elites know.
choices.
This is why they do what they do and they remain on top. You step on a roach and you think you're going to hell. Cut the shit out. I'm not saying do bad, but what I'm saying is learn how this shit really work. So with that being said,
Release yourself from the confines and the constraints of somebody else's imagination of how you should be experiencing this particular reality.
Facts.
So this individual that we're going to be speaking on in the next few seconds was
Yeah.
monumental and instrumental in that process. Let's talk about it.
so on that note, we gonna get to the subject. Let's talk about Stan Lee, my brothers.
Let's talk about it.
A lot of brothers grew up in the Marvel world. I mean, we hear, you know what's funny? We hear Trump, Kanye West, all this stuff about alternative facts or alternative universes. Kanye said he think he's what's the
Larry
dude name?
Hoover in the
Larry
quantum
Hoover.
universe.
You know, in an alternate universe.
Yes.
The only place a black person heard that word, if they wasn't into some deep science, was Marvel Comics.
Right.
So what I want to talk to you about is Stan Lee and what he did to the minds and the imaginations. And does color have anything to do with it? Because he's a white guy. Talk to me about this whole dynamic of Stan Lee and what he did to the black minds.
This is leading off of the last conversation that me and you had about Jane
Elliott.
And her
It went viral. That video went viral.
Iteration that, Europeans or light-skinned blacks,
Super fact.
right?
Yeah.
Again, we make this assumption because of skin tone that everyone that we look at, this quote-unquote light skin, is what we classify or what they classify as white. You know, Stan Lee is Stanley Lieber, right? Coming from a Romanian Jewish family, all right? And Jewish doesn't necessarily denote an ethnicity. His ethnicity is Romanian. You feel me? What exactly or who exactly the Romanians are, we would have to sit down and speak about that in a whole nother, lesson. But we were speaking on last episode about this strange relationship between so-called blacks and Jews.
Yes.
You feel me?
Very
and
strange.
The fact that, the pogroms that were taking place in Europe were to exterminate a class of Europeans who openly and identifiably had traces of melanin still in them, or also came under the auspices of the teachings and the lessons, right, of ancient melanated civilizations. Whether you want to say whether it was the Hebrew, whether you want to say it was the Moors, whether you want to say whoever you want to say, this individual had access and was in possession of some information that couldn't necessarily be his, authenticity. You know what I'm saying? Like, it couldn't just uniquely be his because this individual was able to paint, right, access to an alternative universe and a dimension.
They were known as ledgers.
Right?
They were bookkeepers.
Right. Go ahead.
They were record keepers. They were stewards. And custodians.
Right.
And they were also considered amalgamated. Amalgamated denotes the fact that they were not of pure, what we may know as European ancestry. But when they utilized European ancestry as the litmus test, they were speaking about different empires.
Right. So when we talk about frequency, when we talk about receptivity, right, we understand that this particular vessel is a machine, right?
Yes.
This particular
AI.
vessel is AI, if you will.
AI.
It's governed by mind, right? They said man is mind and mind is all things. We're talking about, right, that whole aspect of that Hermetic principle, right? So even when we go back to a Nikola Tesla, even when we go back to an Edgar Casey, when we go into a lot of these individuals who physicality doesn't represent any marvel that we know about, it was their mind, right? What are they tapping into? So even if this was a creation of yours, melanated man, you know what I'm saying, based on whatever stream of religion that you attest to say this is how he was created, what is his operating principle? What cloud is he tapping into?
What OS system?
What OS system is he
Okay.
Because something has to animate this particular vessel. And
Right.
we know that energy is energy.
Fact.
Right?
Yes.
And it doesn't have an afro made of wool on it. I'm sorry. right?
Oh,
Now
shit.
the Afro
Oh,
wool
man.
might be an antenna that has a level of receptivity that can pull from a particular place, but we cannot make it a man because it's not a man, it's energy. So this
Right.
man was able to tap into a frequency.
The Afro
and pull,
is the aluminum foil on the antenna.
I'm just saying. Albert Einstein had, you know,
The Afro-
he had his fuzz and his buzz, right?
Yeah.
Those
know,
amalgamated
we
Sephardic
talking
Jews were
Jews.
known about their afros. They're known for their afros.
That
They're
is
known
true.
for that non-ether that they
That is
possess.
true.
Yes,
That is
that
true.
is.
Right?
Good point. Good point.
So this individual was able to pull from our Akashic records, put our story into a mythos that was accessible to us. We are interfacing with our own story and history, you dig what I'm saying, in the form of a comic book, which alleviates, right, this whole aspect of literalism in our mind to say whether this is real or not. No, it's fantasy, so you're gonna accept it, right, exactly how it's. Same way when you go to the movie theaters, your filters are let down and you're in that seat and you're allowing it to come inside, pause, you're allowing these images to speak to you in a particular way where you're not being literal and saying, damn, this doesn't match what I was told in the Bible, this doesn't match what Nana told me, this doesn't match what I was told in, you know what I'm saying, social studies. You're being entertained.
You're not objective when a mouse, when you're watching a mouse chase a cat on a cartoon. You're not being objective when you go to Florida, right, with your whole family. You feel me? And you leave a household that you had to get a cat to keep mouse out of it, and then you go to Florida to spend thousands of dollars to the magical kingdom to go and pay homage to their mouse, their talking mouse. The fantasy industry is one of America, the United States of America's largest gross domestic products. The fantasy industry encompasses so many different industries. People don't attribute the behemoth that exists amongst us that is called the fantasy industry. And the power, the lobbying power of the fantasy industry is the fact that we're in this time and place continuum right now where the lines have been actually blurred. As we move forward, day by day and year by year, the fabric of the world that you may have called reality has been intricately blurred and folded over into the fantasy industry complex. The fantasy industry complex encompasses Sony PlayStation. It encompasses Rockstar Games. It encompasses Madden. It encompasses the 2Ks of the world. It encompasses BET. It encompasses Oculus Rift, virtual. You know what I mean? It encompasses Pokemon Go. It encompasses Worldwide Wrestling Federation. It encompasses Disney. It encompasses Marvel.
It encompasses Nickelodeon. It encompasses Scarface. It encompasses all of these movie titles that you're familiar with that people not only live out, but we use as cultural reference points in real time. You dig what I'm saying?
During Comic-Con, when people are cosplaying, right?
What's that?
Cosplaying is when they dress up and they become said characters, right? When people begin to, when the Trekkies,
Magneto, like they become grown folks, dress up as
when the Trekkies come out,
Okay,
right?
okay,
When
right,
the Trekkies
right.
come out and they're in complete what? They're in alter ego mode. They become those characters that we said are not real because they were created in somebody's imagination.
Right.
When we've identified that all is mental, that there was a divine mind that created this that we stand amongst. This coat that he's wearing, this jewelry that I'm wearing. You dig what I'm saying?
Imagination of somebody.
This gate in front of me,
Was an
the building is
imagination.
holding up the gate, the camera in which that we're talking to, all came from man's mind.
And they couldn't do it without it.
Right? So if you're creating Batman in your mind, if you created Superman in your mind, but these principles, because remember, they said, man, know thyself, right? But people get confused with man, know thyself with hieroglyphics or what they may call Medu Neter. But man, know thyself shows up in other religions. So it's only telling man to know thyself. But what is self? Self is self-discovery. Self is self-worth, right? Self is self-discovery. So you mean to tell me that we could restrict man from looking within self going on an LSD trip, going on a mushroom trip, going on a meditative trip, going on a trip where man goes into the middle of the canyons of the Grand Canyon. Man of any color, of any nationality. And he has self-discovery, and he finds out that this world is greater than the world that he was taught in Sunday school. And he takes a piece of paper or a graphic pen and he begins to chart that out. And then what does he do? He unfolds the vast universe that exists inside of the mind of man and puts it on paper for all of us to experience. And then we become part of that alternate universe. That's the power of the mind. That's the power of the imagination. Like I said, they said that the best nation is donation. I said, no, it's your imagination. I, magi, the magician. I, though, the individual self. I, magi, nation. So my nation that I imagine, my world that I create inside of my mind. Not my head, but inside of the mind.
Which is not focalized to this physical.
The cerebral. Yeah, we think it's the side of our cerebral cortex or our cerebral brain. And that's not what it is. That's not mind. Mind is not only encapsulated inside of the cranium or the skull.
Factoids.
Mine is non-local, right?
Not at all.
It's not
mine is
local.
all encompassing.
Yeah,
Mine is 360.
Yeah.
You know?
Mine is the engagement of your experience in your environment.
Because thought travels the fastest of all things on this planet.
Right. So when we hear about Stan Lee, this is what we call a conscious channel. So it's kind of hard. People were like, why are they talking about Stan Lee? What did Stan Lee do for y'all?
Yeah.
In your childhood, your adolescenthood, or whatever you want to call it? What did Stan Lee, what he created, how did it alter or change your world? I'm just curious.
Because Stan Lee was a mystic, I do believe that this man was heavy into mysticism.
Think he was in a secret society or anything like that?
Well,
what you think?
We're in a secret society, Brother Rich. You're in a secret society right now. People don't know how you look. They hear your voice, and you're part of the invisible empire.
You seen the GOAT video with the mask?
You see me? You feel me? Ghostface 2.3, 2.2 killer.
Okay.
So the secret society that we belong to is a fraternal order of, intellects and people who are doing the work when the average person is asleep, right? So the secret society that he belongs to, the other people such as the Screenwriters Guild and writers and whatnot, because they tap into what is known as source material. Source material may be the writings of Crowley. It may be it might be the writings of Lovecraft. It may be the writings of Pascal Beverly Randolph. It may be the writings of, many people who are known as intellects and philosophers and whatnot. They utilize their source material, which will be heavy esoterical or heavy occultic or metaphysical information, the same way that people may use Elijah Muhammad as source material, Marcus Mosiah Garvey as source material, Noble Drew Ali. All of this is source material, meaning that it's source, it's primary source. It's that 9.0 that you take and step on and cut, and then you feed the people that 2.0. You dig what I'm saying? So I know that Stan Lee belonged to a society of writers and creators, that they were getting their information from, not from libraries, the average library or the average person that they were telling you should listen to and whatnot. So in that aspect, yes, I feel that he was in that fraternal order. And what he did, remember, what did he say that he based his character of the Professor X and Magneto, who were the matriarchal figures in the X-Men universe, right?
The billion-dollar industry.
They weren't just the regular members that were in the school. They were the matriarchal figures. The patriarchal figures inside of the Marvel universe. So he said that he alchemized, he templated. Malcolm X becomes Professor X.
He said that personally, or is that a rumor?
Out of his mouth.
Is that a nigga
Quotable.
rumor?
No, that's not a nigga quotable. Quotable.
Not a nigga quotable.
And Martin Luther King becomes the humble and meek Professor X, and Malcolm X becomes Magneto, who basically did not turn a cheek, did not want to deal with nonviolence, and did not want to deal with just, But these two men were doing what? They were the teachers, they were the master teachers, they were the big homies to the rest of those mutants. They were amongst them that had messianic forces and had what? Superhero or superhero strengths, who turned online and were doing magnum stuff.
So God was using him as an antenna.
Huh?
God was using Stan Lee.
Facts.
So God uses white people and black people. Because that's what we don't understand. We think God people just use us for the melanin, but obviously God uses...
What I opened this whole thing
Yeah,
up about. I
yeah.
said if you are animated by mind, because the body is just an automaton, so if you're animated by mind itself, and we can't necessarily localize or identify mind as being something temporal, that if you're animated, if it's energy, if it's spirit, you know what I'm saying, it has to come from source. You dig what I'm saying? So that's the conversation that we should be having. What is source? What is frequency? Right? God frequency. So he had to be utilized by that particular animating force to what? Render in modern times our story in a way in which it was palatable to us. So when we were ready to find ourselves, it was right in front of us.
Right in front of us.
Right there. That's what the stewards do.
That's what it's and the KT will come and unpack this glorious story for us. Right?
And
comic by comic, movie by movie,
Fact.
to show you, look, it's always there all along.
The through line.
You
He
dig what
draws
I'm
the
saying?
through line.
What story is there to template any story from but our story?
But our story. Like what foundation, what thread is there to sew all of these different narratives together but the Asaurian myth? They're giving you, what did Joseph Campbell say?
Yeah. Give me some Joseph Campbell quotables. And Red, while he's getting that ready, tell us who Joseph Campbell...
No, I'm gonna let Blue
okay.
line them up. You know what I'm saying?
'Cause we're dealing with... So you would consider comic books, is that mythology? Is that the modern day mythology?
Of course, God wears, what do they say? God wears spandex?
Okay.
It is definitely the modern day mythologies.
Yes, indeed. So, myths are public dreams, dreams are private myths. You know what I'm saying? This is an individual who wrote a book called 1,000 Faces. You know, A.A. Rashid brought this individual to our attention. People like, I see the Duke of Tears, you know, with the work that he has done, detailing and explaining the importance of mythos in regards to comic book, has brought these things to our attention. You know what I'm saying? All the gods, all the heavens, all the hells are within you. Myth is much more important and true than history. History is just journalism, and you know how reliable that is. So we know that the way, you know, the stories go by way of the victor always has the ability to write the story.
Facts.
You dig what I'm saying? The mythos always has the activating principle, or what they call the moral of the story. So, you know, when we speak about mythos and unpacking and unlocking the mysteries of mythos, you know, these are the things that speak to that latent aspect of the stories, the crevices in our minds, the information that we already come with, that just have to be tweaked and spoken to for them to start. You feel me? Now, history itself, you know, once again, you get into that objective, judgmental mind, like, oh, this doesn't fit into the way that this story was told, and this date doesn't line up, and this doesn't line up, or what have you. So, yeah, you know, sometimes the mythos is a lot more important, unfortunately, than the history, because it has the things that you need encoded within it. In the way that we were introduced to comic books at an early age, you understand, we were able to see in our own mind figures that were 800 feet tall. Growing up at a time when outside the window, you know what I'm saying, it was a bleak condition, it was crack cocaine, but inside of our minds, you know, we were able to see characters such as the Incredible Hulk, you know, doing death-defying things. You
Yeah,
feel me?
leaping tall
Impossible
bounds.
things. Leaping
Superman.
tall bounds or what have you. And then we will want to template our own ideas about what that looked like. So that started us on our artistic endeavors. My older sister taught us how to draw stickmen, but comic books taught us how to draw muscle men. You feel me? And then later on in life, that will graduate and grow into what will become masterpieces.
Yeah, so in the quest of man to know thyself or self-discovery, or the search for self-worth black men go through, you know what I mean? As we're going through our teenager years, through the rites of passage, there's a level of self-discovery where you're looking within. Stan Lee afforded us, because me and my brother didn't grow up religious. Our parents didn't put that on us. So we were able to see what people were seeing in religion. We were able to see it through the comics, and this was before the rise of the video games. So we were able to see our minds and our imaginations and the mythos aspect of our brains were able to be fed through Marvel versus being fed through Christianity or Islam. When we were looking at, God was Galacticus. You know what I'm talking about?
Wow. Damn.
We were allowed to see God as Galacticus.
Marvel more powerful than religion?
Huh?
Marvel was more powerful than religion for you in your world?
Fact.
That's a deep statement.
Yeah. I was saved from religion by comic books, bro.
Comic books was my
wallpaper. Yeah.
Wow.
I tell you, we had comic books.
That was our wallpaper.
That's deep.
Top to the very bottom.
That's deep.
A line.
I ain't had that was the wallpaper on our room.
That's deep.
We're talking late 80s, 90s. So all of the world that our progeny live in right now, the world that people of our own age live in right now, because of the influence of MCU, which is the Marvel comic universe, and because of the fact that it dominated Hollywood in the last decade or whatnot, we were dominated by those same characters in that same world in the late 80s, early 90s, which was juxtaposed with the rise of hip hop, which was another form of mythos, it was another form of the fantasy industry. But now these individuals walk like us and talk like us. They weren't green like the Hulk, but they was out here hulking. You know what I mean? They was out here flexing. They were doing things that the comic book characters were doing.
Larger than life.
Larger than life. And you could reach them and touch them. They had skills. They had rhyming skills. They were on clue tapes. So that world came about, and it's no coincidence when you talk to the average rapper, they're also artists, like fine art. They're comic book artists, and their minds were being groomed and they were being reared by the Marvel universe. That's where a lot of their imagination. Henceforth, Wu-Tang Saturday morning cartoons and all of the kung fu stuff. Henceforth, MF Doom and you know, I mean, it goes on for days.
Good point. Go ahead, brother. No,
yeah,
good point.
Eminem is a Beanie Siegel. All of these people are identified as artists. Kanye is an artist. These are all comic book artists. Andre 3000, like they were all nice with the pen.
And again,
so when you, I'm sorry, you could go right after. When you start out as a figure drawer, a comic book figure drawer. You're drawing figures on a picture of people, you know, you're doing comic book panels, storyboards, and you're telling a picture with stick figures, which turn into balloon thoughts and everything. When you evolve and begin to write a 16, right? Mm-hmm. You're still telling a story, you're still painting a picture, but you've evolved past drawing stick figures, now you're doing rhymes. It's evolution, it's a natural progression. You dig what I'm saying? So these people are drawing out, they're writing out, boom, pow, pow, all of these comic book narratives. It's now, remember the first comic book rhyme, the Knicks playing thing on a basketball, Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah.
Right? The cover even looked like a comic book.
Look, Adventures of Slick Rick.
Adventures of Slick Rick.
Children's story.
Y'all going in.
Yeah, children's story and all of that.
The audio comic book.
That it was. He was known as what? A premier storyteller.
Even BDP, Love's Gonna Get You.
Love's Gonna Get You.
Like
QG Rap, Triple X and all of that.
Streets of New York, some of these
Big Daddy Kane, Juice Crew, yeah, the symphony. It was paneled like comics.
Because of the panels that we had already been set up and templated with by, you know, our love for comic books. And it's, again, no coincidence to even in the conscious community, like I said, your major teachers are also they're not only into comic, but they're artists.
Dr. Phil, Bobby Hemmett, A.A. Rashid, KT the Arts Degree, Red and the Blue.
I see it.
I see the Duke of Tears. Like, we could go on for days. A lot of people didn't necessarily put their work forward and step out and say, yo, I'm a master artist, but we just named master artists. Like Dr. Phil Valentine designed Galacticus. And that's a Snapple New York bottle top fact. Dr. Phil Valentine was the intellectual property known as Galacticus. They renamed him, of course, but that comes out of the minds and the caverns of our master teacher.
They jacked his intellectual property. You feel me?
So we have the abilities, we have the power, and you don't have to be a billionaire. You don't got to be an Illuminati. Remember, Ralph Lauren, right? Stan Lieber,
Yes.
The Coens, who run the movie studios, the Warner Brothers, who run the Hollywood studios, all of these Jewish men of Eastern and Western European Jewish descent were all coming out of the ghettos and the tenements, right, of New York City. They were from the slums. They were from the bottom, B. I'm talking about the slums that you could identify right now. They were from some shit that was more slummier than that.
Facts.
So these people came from humble beginnings and utilized the pen and the paper
and the imagination.
And the imagination.
The America that you know of today.
You feel me?
The whole concept, again, do your research, right? Empire of Their Own.
Empire of Their Own.
The whole
documentary
concept of the American dream or Americana was a concept that came out of Jewish thought that they utilized their position in Hollywood to create.
Facts.
That's how they got their acceptance into what you call white America.
Facts.
Because prior to that, they were not considered white.
Facts. Into upper brow, upper tier, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, what they call highbrow society. It was the mysticism that they were performing in the Nickelodeons, and also what are known as the Nickelodeons were the 5-cent shows, and also the vaudevilles and whatnot, which evolved into the film industry. And in the same place that's burning right now, the hills of Hollywood, the very same place. What did I say in May for this? Because I don't want to forget this. I said before I lay my pencil down, I'm headed down to Tinseltown to burn the temples down and cap it off like a dental crown, because that's the place where a lot of these spells that are being casted. So we're not putting anybody on a pedestal. What we're doing is unpacking the influence and the impact of people who dare to utilize their imagination.
So last year, right after the total lunar eclipse of August 21st, Hollywood, before it starts physically burning down, you get Harvey Weinstein right after Hurricane Harvey.
Right.
The water drowning.
Right.
Come on, Blue. Come on, Blue.
Northern and Southern California start burning and converging. I thought that was major. They just said the shit started on Thursday. They said it's the worst California fire
they've ever seen.
Yeah.
Factology.
Yes.
It just started last week.
That's right.
Yeah.
When what? When Jupiter came into Sagittarius. God damn it.
Well, what that mean?
That's
I don't know.
fire.
I don't know. I don't know what that
moon.
mean. What that mean? Jupiter came in. So what that
Big
mean?
fire.
Big fire on a Scorpio moon.
Okay.
We're talking
Big fire
about
on a Scorpio moon.
we're talking about Paradise,
that,
California's burned.
Race off the map.
Where's drinking them from?
Calabasas.
Calabasas done burnt. We're talking about the same people who drive through Skid Row, right? This is one of the centers of homelessness. And I'm talking about disparity homelessness, meaning that where adverse wealth is juxtaposed in the backdrop to adverse poverty.
10 cities.
Tinseltown is where that's taking place in California. That's where it's burning down, because theoretically all of those people are homeless now.
Right. So the very place, right, there was 1,000-acre estate. It was the very beginning of Hollywood. It was the initial land.
Where they filmed Westworld and all of that.
They filmed Westworld.
And all of the Westerns.
Where they filmed all of the Westerns and all of the initial filmings. Okay, where they looked at
and they
this
gave
land
you the
and said,
myth and the
"Hold on."
illusion of America.
They gave you where they created the entire mythos of Americana on this tract of land. They saw this land and it was so beautiful. They said, this is where we're gonna set up our shop at and decide upon, this is where we're gonna do our film industry. That got destroyed, so that temple is finished.
And then,
you feel me? Hold on, so a day after 11/11, between the twin pillars, right, is a void, it's a portal, it's a universe. So after the 11/11 hits, right, the next day, okay, which is 11/12,
Fact.
then the creator of the Marvel Universe gets sucked into the void.
They took them in Scorpion. He got snatched in Scorpion, right in the void, at 95, family. You know what I'm talking about? That's
Thanos.
the ending of a chapter. Yeah, he got the Thanos snap.
So,
Is that the last movie that he was in? Because I didn't see Ant-Man and all of that. But that could be the last appearance of him is in the Avengers 4 when Thanos came and wiped out the whole universe with a finger snap. So what we're saying about this individual is the fact that a lot of people live inside of his imagination or his dream. Don't get mad at me. Don't judge me for giving you the truth. Don't judge this man for just calling it how it is. Ralph,
unpacking it. Yeah.
for unpacking it. Stan Lee had a profound influence on the psyche of black and white and Spanish and Oriental American male psyche, along with American female psyche. Him and Jack Kirby are magicians of the highest order because they introduced the mythos to you in the form of comic books. Take that template and run with it. Sorry.
So we've heard so many speakers talk about the melanin, how powerful melanin is, and we talked about the receptivity of melanin. Melanin is Dr. Africa, Dr. Alim, Dr. Phil, Dr. Bobby Hemmond, this brother, that brother. Do you think, as far as this God being a verb, an action,
Facts.
this verb, this action, this force has no time to wait for the melanated species to get itself together, so it has to go to whoever wants to be available?
It's going to light-skinned blacks.
Yeah. You ever seen Venom? You saw Venom, right?
No, I didn't see the movie, but go ahead.
I didn't see it either. Assalamu alaikum, brother. I saw Spider-Man 3 when they introduced Eddie Brock and whatnot. Venom, or the symbiotic suit of Venom, was indicative of what melanin is. Melanin is all-encompassing. Melanin affects everybody on this planet, and it touches them, and it gives them that divine spark. Melanin is the lyrics that are coming out of your speaker that are known as the hip, the hop, the hibbit, the hip hop, the shit that has the world under its spell. That's melanin in the form of a musical treatise or a musical composition of 16 bars that are put together mathematically, right? So melanin is all encompassing. Melanin is the way that we move, the way that we talk. Hold on. The majority of the Marvel universe and the characters that were all powerful exemplify melanin qualities. They didn't miss nothing. Him and Jack Kirby didn't miss anything. All of the X-Men are heavily melanated. Logan or Wolverine, you know what I mean? Jean Grey, the Dark Phoenix, the Beast being blue. You dig what I'm saying? Nightcrawler, Mystique, Scott Summers with them eyes of fire. You know, I'm just saying, all throughout of the Marvel universe, KT is the one who will unpack all of that. They do not leave out the power of carbon. They do not leave out the power of the melanin. They give Silver Surfers all black. And he was the one who beat Thanos. Human Torch and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? Storm. You feel me? And Black Panther, T'Challa. You know what I'm talking about? Killmonger. Like the $1 billion Afrofuturism blockbuster, right?
He was an Afrofuturist?
He aided.
So Stan Lee was an Afrofuturist?
I'm just fact. I mean, we might have. That's what it's looking like.
Not on some Jane Elliott shit, but some Tarzan Elliott shit.
Jane Elliott.
Your children, the light-skinned blacks, this is how they're giving you your story. And you know what I'm saying, the way that they're gonna express it, they're gonna always template and put that caricature in front of you.
That's right.
But as you have reminded me in the comments, right, if everything came from the melanated women, yes, they're all her children, so take responsibility for your children.
Yeah, pick them up.
Embrace your universal family and pick them up. You dig what I'm saying? Get everybody the Kanye hug if that's the case. Get out of your feelings. We shouldn't even be talking about racism and none of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because technically you're saying that it don't exist if it's one race.
So melanin for the win in the MCU. Melanin is definitely still for the win in the Marvel.
Me, I find myself, like I said, I started in the beginning as a child in the Marvel universe, only to come out later on you know, in my 40s, dealing with the law of 44, looking for this God frequency, and finding that every Marvel movie deals with the cube and the tesseract.
Divine
you dig
spark.
what I'm saying? Now, if that is not the melanin, if that ain't melanin, God
I
damn it,
don't know what is.
I don't know what is. You dig what I'm saying? So it's all there, it's all qualified. It's the continuum, it's the beauty of it all. You dig what I'm saying? I can only see the beauty in it at the end of the day. They didn't steal anything from us.
Nothing is stolen in this
Nothing is
world with
stolen.
all this
Nothing
mental
is stolen.
Stewards.
and information.
So, what
and
does that mean? What does that mean? I don't get.
Stewards.
What does that mean?
The caretakers, they're
The caretakers.
custodians.
Caretakers. Okay.
Right.
Information
Yeah.
is colorblind.
They're receptors, right? I'm sure that when Rashid come, he's gonna be talking about Kabbalah to receive.
To receive.
yes, he is. Yes, he
Okay.
is.
Yes, to be
You gotta
receptive.
Put
Yes, he
something
is.
down to pick something up.
That's right. That's right.
Right? You
God.
have to receive.
You have to be willing to receive. So information is colorblind, my friend. Knowledge has no nationality. It doesn't belong to any race of people. If you pick up a book, or if you go on a website, or if you begin to go on your travels of man know thyself, your path of enlightenment, you won't get turned away because of your skin tone. Don't be fooled by that. So creativity has no nationality. Anybody can enjoy my artwork. Anybody can enjoy my imagination.
They said the
So,
mystery schools was closed to the Neanderthals and the
we
Europeans.
live in an age of information, and we live in an age where the mystery is being unveiled. We live in a different
My God.
day and time.
Okay.
How did Socrates, Plato, and the rest of them?
He was a mulatto. He looked
He
like a
was
nigga like
racist.
me, light skin
He
nigga.
was a-
It's a
going
false
back,
history that he was white.
he was James
It's like they
Elliott
say
the
Abraham
first.
Lincoln was white. He's not really white.
Look, they said George Washington was white. Melanated. They said Abraham Lincoln was melanated. So I understand that. They said Jefferson was. According to them, everyone was. So
Yeah.
yeah, what are we talking about? Jane Elliott was right. Everybody's light-skinned African
That's
at
right.
the end of the day.
That's right.
These niggas got-
They reversed.
They got game. They got game, you saying.
And they reversed.
Herodotus was. Socrates
Socrates
was.
was,
Right.
yeah.
Ain't
You know,
that-
The whole Greek,
the
all the Greeks was,
Etruscan
yeah.
The Etruscans.
Etruscans was.
So they reverse engineer this whole race thing to make themselves whiter. In your lifetime, I've seen it. I've seen them. I've seen families get whiter by design.
By design, yes.
By
I have
design.
to. I have
How
to.
did they
I have
do
to.
it?
Yes,
Slice and
yes.
become
While we're
whiter.
at it, let's go a little bit deeper, right? Let's rev these comments up. If that's the case, you tell me that everything is matrilineal. So a child is only what his mother is. So by proxy and by your own admittance, then we never even had a first black president because Obama
Comes
can't
out of
be
white
black,
womb.
he came out of white womb.
That's right.
How
You
about
gotta make
that?
your mind
So
up.
this whole concept of you looking
That's
at
what the
people
Hebrews
Gotta make your
with
mind
skin
up.
tones and facial features and melanin, that don't qualify the ethnicity aspect of what you're saying is white or black. How about
Super
that?
facts.
All right.
Very interesting
so you
point.
Get caught up in these quagmires. At the end
Quagmires.
of the day. All right. So shout out to Stan Lee. We standing on that.
Yes,
You know what
sir.
I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Legend.
Shout out to Ralph Lauren while we at it.
Oh,
Yeah, Ralph.
God
Shout
damn.
out
You
to
sound
Ralph.
like ASAP.
Ralph Leibowitz.
No, Ferg. You sound like Ferg, ASAP Ferg. Didn't Ralph Lauren say some fucked up shit like a year ago?
They all.
Bruh,
They
I
all
don't know
have.
what Ralph said, but I know that Ralph and Stan Lee single-handedly, them two alone,
Those twin pillars.
have shaped our culture
Ralph
that
Lauren?
you know as hip-hop. Ralph Lauren
Ralph Lauren.
was the one responsible for the wardrobe of the main influencers, movers and shakers, shot callers, and motherfucking $100 ballers that you see that come out of our generation.
What about Tommy Hilfiger?
No,
It was
rough. It was-
afterwards. We're
it was
talking
afterwards.
primary source, carbon copy.
Right.
And then
Early
Dapper
80s,
Dan,
Yes.
90s.
yeah, and then Dapper Dan did the job of introducing us to couture labels by the way of what he was doing with MCM, Louis, Fendi, and Gucci. We didn't interact with them. We went through Dapper for that. Ralph Lauren, we didn't interact with him because they were taking his shit. You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
But
So-
his look,
right.
but the ambiance that he was giving.
As I was
Polo,
corrected
polo.
on my thread today
Polo,
earlier by
baby.
my dude Swagger Don, you know what I'm saying? We had Stan Lee introducing our imagination, right, to an alternative universe. And then we had Ralph Lauren introducing us to the cloth that allowed us access to Americana. Because You can say what you want. When you deny something from melanated people or people in particular, they want that much more to participate with it. So our deniance and non-access to Americana, even after integration, made young quote-unquote black youth want it even more to interface and interact to see what this thing is about. You dig what I'm saying? You throw that teddy bear on, you throw that sportsman on, you throw that whatever on.
That suicide, that Alpine.
We was able to interface
We wasn't,
with a piece of that thing.
Niggas wasn't fishers. Niggas we wasn't taking, we wasn't on skiing
like,
trips.
Yeah, we wasn't even so much interested in their world per se, but that cloth was about
But we was
everything.
cosplaying in a sense.
We was cosplaying.
We was
dressing
cosplaying.
up in cosplay.
When I put on a
Like you
a
said,
$500 sweater with a teddy bear on it made out of cashmere, my nigga, I was luxury. I was couture.
That's when you started to drink and your pinky went up.
I was feeling like I was feeling like Knots Landing, like Falcon Crest, like niggas felt like we was in All My Children. We just felt upper echelon, wearing silk crest and all of that stuff. It's just a different feeling.
And again, if you're not afforded that psychology based on people that look like you, giving you that to say, look, this is what this looks like in this version, you're going to gravitate towards that if it's given to you, however it's given to you. And that's what young men in our generation gravitated to. And that's what the young women in our generation was attracted to.
Yeah.
So that's how we put on.
And we're talking so don't hit me with the puritanical conscious judgment, oh brother, but ruffler. Negro, this is the 80s. We're talking about the mid 80s where God Bodies was rocking suicides and all of that. Fuck, don't talk to me about, if you weren't there, please, shit, just save your critiques for, you know what I mean, for something else. If you weren't there, do some research. Do the research on the coming of age in the 80s and the 90s, what people were into inside of this cultural hotbed known as New York City that helped influence and write the code that many people are still following to this very day. And what we're saying is we're identifying one of the architects and code writers inside of this matrix where we just identified is the fantasy industry, the R-E-E real life mixed in with the R-E-A-L life, where you don't know what the fuck is anything. You don't know what's what no more. You don't know what's what anymore. So that's what we're identifying. That's what we're pointing out for you. You dig what I'm saying? So yeah, it is what it is. Let's wrap this.
So, on that note, man, like, man, this is an amazing segment, man. I know the people gonna enjoy this. Have a lot of comments. They still commenting on Blue Pill's last piece, man, and went viral, man.
Excellent piece.
Excellent bill. Definitely excellent bill. Leave your contact information, man. I just want to tell them to come to the God Frequency. Everything we talking about, come to the God Frequency Conference, December 16th.
I just got a feeling that Aleem is an artist. You know what I'm saying? If you don't draw, you damn.
Aleem is
you play with your words in your mind.
Listen,
I appreciate
Aleem is gonna be the surprise speaker, man.
That's
People
right.
sleeping on Aleem.
So-
He coming up with some shit. Like I said, I
Shout
talked
out
to the brother.
Eileen. We're in a special day and time right now. We're on the eve of me and this man's 43rd cycle around the sun.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Tomorrow we're gonna inaugurate our cycle around the sun in Manhattan at the Soho Playhouse at 11:11 p.m. On 11/14, we're gonna be debuting Twin the Movie, which is a 9-minute mini movie, one of 7. That's gonna be open to the public at 11. The doors open up at 10 p.m. Go and research the Soho Playhouse and pull up 10 p.m. tomorrow. Entry is it's at 15 Van Dam, like the dude to be kicking. V-A-N-D-A-M, no John Claude. 10 p.m. pull up, $9 if you just want to view, $20 if you want to chill. We're going to have a panel discussion. Then we're going to have a performance. Cambada will be performing. Then we're going to have a party. So we got drinks, BYOB, bring your, and it's 420 friendly. Stop playing with us. Like I said, we're premiering our film in a theater called the Soho Playhouse tomorrow. Please pull up and support us. Love and light to the family. The Cash App is $Phil Moreland. The Patreon is Patreon / Red Pillar. And the album is Twin. It's a soundtrack. www.twinthealbum.com. I want to say thank you to this man, and I want to tell this man that I love him.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
The twins.
We had a wonderful year.
Twins.
You held me up this year, brother. You represented, and I love you for that. So we going into our 44 very strong, and that's 43rd. What it is.
Don't get these people confused.
No. We going into our 43rd, but
getting ready for the 44th.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? And that's when it's gonna be
Blue
dynamic.
Pill gonna act like a fool on his 44th, man.
Oh, he gonna act that
Blue
damn
Pill gonna
fool.
act like a fool, man.
AA got there today at 44.
He's on
He
his
made it.
44th.
Yeah, you a legend,
AA.
AA. Facts.
They 8 years
Shout out
apart,
AA.
You know what I'm saying? On the same day.
On the
Shout
same
out to
day.
their mother.
Ain't gonna
Hafiza, Mama Hafiza.
She's a legend. Shout out to Mama Pill. She's a legend. All Scorpios. You know what I'm saying? Cash App, $ Blue Pillar 44. Dig what I'm saying? @ Blue Pillar 44 on IG and Blue Pillar 44 at Gmail. SoulGoldBiz.com. MyPowerPieces.com. All that good stuff. Yeah.
Hey, I talked to AA. He's talking about something that he never talked about before on December 16th.
You know he gonna
Beyond the
beast out.
Kabbalah.
You know he gonna wild out.
feels the need to reintroduce himself. My name is Hov.
That's how it happened.
So he
That's
has
how
to
it happened.
reintroduce himself. AA, he's
He's 44.
like
He
Nikola
got a
Tesla
whole-
say, when you to yourself, you come up with ideas. AA got some shit to get off his chest. That
Dog food. Go and get that
Yeah.
West Side Gun album. He's on the intro.
That's my
Hitler wears Hermes.
SUN.
AA doing his thing.
Merch.
Look, I gotta go, y'all.
All right.
I love
All right.
you, Rich. All
Peace,
right?
family.
to the
Peace.
family.
Peace.